A member of Action Corps' board, if you could just raise your hand. All right. So board members, thank you so much for your service and your commitment to Action Corps. Our board members all commit to a 3-year term and have made a...
Sorry, Isaac, I muted you by accident.
All right, I'm back. So I was saying that our board members have made a commitment to this organization. We're so grateful for all of you. I want to just acknowledge the officers of our board. Elizabeth Norman, if you want to raise your hand, who's our vice chair. We have Ellie Barron, who you just heard from, who's the secretary of our board. Ellie, you want to raise your hand? Ellie, I met when she was, I think, 14 years old and started marching with us in a parade for farm workers' rights in New York City. And she's now a college student, and so glad to have her as on our board. We have our treasurer, Nabil. You want to raise your hand, Nabil? Thank you for your service, our new treasurer, and Yolande, the chair of our board. Dr. Yolande Kador. Yolande, would you want to say hello and share a word or two?
Sure. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today in this very important gathering, breaking bread with each other. As the president of Action Corps Board, I couldn't be prouder of this moment. It's so important getting together, especially on World Food Day, at a time when our world seems to be in crisis, our communities seem to be in crisis. Specifically, if we look at the rise in inflation rates and what the impact of that on our communities, on developed small island developing states, or countries in the global south, and also some of the countries that Action Corps' work is targeted to address some of the issues, especially the issue of food sovereignty, food justice. So I think the work that each of us that we're committed to do is more important today than ever. We are seeing the impacts of injustice. We're seeing the impacts of what it would be like if each of us aren't committed to standing up and to advocating for the things that are important to us. And I think that is the work that Action Corps is doing as an institution. It is the work that Action Corps is committed to doing with emerging organizers, with current organizers, and a commitment to training the next generation of advocates and organizers who will continue this work long after we are gone. And it is that commitment to institutional building that I think brings us as board members to Action Corps, and by extension, brings each of us together to celebrate in community, especially on World Food Day. Someone who comes from an island, a small island, that is also feeling the impact of inflation and of global inequity and injustice. I think it's more important. Cannot be more important, the work that Action Corps is doing. And for our partners in the room who have joined hands with Action Corps to make sure that this work continues. We deeply appreciate your commitment to Action Corps, whether it's in kind, whether it's a financial commitment. We truly, truly appreciate all that you do for Action Corps and with Action Corps, and know that this coming together is just the beginning of the work that we'll be doing now and for a long, long time to come. So happy to be here with each of you. Isaac?
Thank you so much, Yolande. I also want just to acknowledge that we have William Lambers, who just joined in, who's an author, journalist, historian, who's written about the crisis in Yemen and been supportive of Action Corps' work just in your writing and acknowledging the work in national publications. So thank you. I have some bad news on this day of celebration, which is the bad news is that right now, more than twice as many people are experiencing acute malnutrition than in 2019. More than double the number of people. And early this morning, I was just Googling acute malnutrition to try to get a better understanding what this means. And some of the words that came up were pretty disturbing, like starvation, wasting, rapid weight loss from disease or lack of food. So when we face this sort of situation, I think about, well, what can we do? And I know that I have many times felt powerless, but in organizing together, we can address the root causes of hunger. And this is how we happen to take on the work to get the United States to stop participating in the war in Yemen, which has caused one of the largest hunger crises on the planet. It's why we have taken on the work for a global economic relief for the world's most vulnerable countries facing climate disasters, facing violent conflict, facing the impact of violent conflict. The war in Ukraine has shot up prices for wheat around the world and made it really hard for people to get the food that they need. We look at the 3 C's of climate change, of conflict that's violent, and of COVID, and how this has driven hunger around the world. When I learned about special drawing rights, the International Monetary Fund's virtual currency, it's a resource that they can generate and release to the world's countries all at once, just like that. I was a little puzzled about this at first, but the more that I learned, the more I understood that this was a really important part of the solution. And it's why Action Corps has brought together over 100 organizations in signing letters to Congress, to the administration. And most recently, we supported a letter from 140 organizations, including some of yours, to the International Monetary Fund. The International Chamber of Commerce, we asked to get on this letter, and they joined in, the AFL-CIO joined in, and various religious organizations. Oxfam joined this letter. And this letter called for another release of these emergency financial resources called special drawing rights. We'll share a few numbers in a moment about some of our work. But to get to what this actually means on a personal level, during the pandemic, I remember hearing stories about people in Afghanistan having to choose between having food on the table or retaining their body intact. People selling body parts in order to have food to put on their table. Hearing about stories in Yemen of people being sold into marriage at a very young age because their families so desperately needed the funds. So part of my hope for the work that Action Corps does and the work that we all do together is that people be able to make easier choices, that the choices that people face be easier. We have the power to change the conditions that have caused so many people to be facing hunger. We have that power. And being in the United States, and I know some of you are joining from Grenada, from Albania, from other countries, and so glad to have you here with us today. But I know that in the United States is one of the wealthiest, largest economies and countries in the world. We have an incredible opportunity to drive policy and change policy that will make a difference for people around the world. I want to share a few slides with you that give a sense about our work and appreciate the support from all of you. I want to thank the sponsors of this event. If you want to, there we go. The sponsors of this celebration today. This is a picture of Neda, one of our first staff people who I met summer before last in California, and just amazing to connect with somebody who had so much passion and determination and community. And within like a few days of Netta and my meeting at a little celebration, she had organized a rally at the office of important congressperson in California. We showed up, and that led to a meeting with that member of Congress in which we were able to express the importance of support for a resolution to stop U.S. participation in the war in Yemen. Go to the next slide, Ellie. I want to thank all of the individuals and organizations for your support. Particularly, we have the Oxfam and your Oxfam's generous support, Greg and Heather Hardy, and finally, Nabil with his leadership donation for this event. Nabil is the treasurer of our board. Appreciate the Center for Economic and Policy Research, CEPR, who has done a lot of the writing that has supported the work for an issuance of special drawing rights. And for Dr. Aisha Juman, who is the founder of the Yemen Relief and Reconstruction Foundation. Go to the next slide. So here's a video that was made by Inside Arabia, which is an independent media organization. I will note that there are a couple of ads for other videos at the end, which is not from Action Corps, but this is something that Inside Arabia has created last December.
Since the beginning of the Yemeni civil war, at least 230,000 civilians have died. 16 million Yemenis are on the brink of starvation. 2.3 million children under the age of 5 are suffering from malnutrition. More than 1,100 children die per day. That's 1 every 75 seconds. Yet the United States continues to enable the war, specifically the Saudi UAE-led coalition and its blockade of Yemeni ports and airports. Instead of the United States using its leverage with Saudi Arabia to lift the blockade, U.S. contractors are providing maintenance support for Saudi fighter jets. And in late 2021, President Biden announced a $650 million weapons sale to Saudi Arabia, which will help enforce the blockade. The United States has the power to stop the world's worst man-made humanitarian crisis, and Action Corps is playing a significant role in working with other rights activists to push Congress to withdraw the U.S. from the war. The Grassroots Initiative has effectively influenced powerful members of Congress to take a position on Yemen, and in several cases, get them to move significantly. In 2018, Action Corps demonstrated for 6 hours in front of New York Congressman Gerald Nadler's Manhattan office, using protest signs, buses, trucks, and billboards from independent media organization Inside Arabia's 2018 Save Yemen campaign. The next day, Representative Nadler co-sponsored and publicly supported a Yemen War Powers resolution. On January 25, 2021, Action Corps brought together several different rights organizations to facilitate the initiative World Says No to War on Yemen Global Day of Action, in which tens of thousands of people from all over the world participated. Action Corps is now demanding the passage of a War Powers resolution to end U.S. participation in the war on Yemen and to pressure Saudi Arabia to end its blockade. For Action Corps, Yemeni leadership, and other rights activists to continue building the movement to stop the blockade of Yemen, we need your help. By supporting Action Corps, you would help raise the voices of people around the world. Your gift will help increase Action Corps' capacity to advance U.S. policies in solidarity with people facing mass atrocities worldwide. Your generosity will help Action Corps support its organizers and ambassadors in 20 states, double the number of states where Action Corps has an on-the-ground presence, and increase their influence with members of Congress. We have the power to stop the blockade. We have the power to end the war. Please donate to Action Corps today and join the movement.
Thank you. Feel free to put in the chat any responses that you have, interested in your reactions to what you hear and see and hear. Ellie, I think we have a few other slides that we wanted to share. While this is coming up, I'll just share that one of my hopes is that we can actually have a presence on the ground in all 50 states. It would, and ultimately, eventually, perhaps beyond. We are powerful because we are able to show up at key moments in key places and connect with powerful members of Congress. All the members of Congress actually aren't equal when it comes to issues of foreign policy. The chairpeople of foreign policy committees, the chairpeople of the armed service committees, they have particular power, but sometimes it's the appropriations committee chair. And we don't have organizers in Alabama or in Kansas or in a number of states where it would be really useful for us to be able to say, hey, we have a person on the ground. So that's something we'll be working on in the coming days, and would welcome support in getting out the word that we're looking for folks around the country who want to be an on-the-ground presence with us. So next slide. Just a few numbers about us. We had 90 meetings and phone calls that were scheduled with members of Congress and their staff in 5 months of 2021. We organized meetings with a bunch of Sisters of Mercy folks, with other organizations, connecting constituents with their members of Congress to talk about the need for global COVID response from the International Monetary Fund, also talking about Burma, human rights in Burma and the genocide there and the war in Yemen. We brought together 83 organizations this past March for a Yemen war protest on the day of, on the month, the 7-year anniversary of US participation in the war. With other organizations and members of Congress, we gotten over 100 co-sponsors, Republicans and Democrats, on the House Yemen War Powers Resolution to stop US participation in the war. And Action Corps played a key role in getting the commitment from Senator Sanders and Senator Leahy in introducing the Yemen War Powers Resolution in the Senate with Senator Warren. We had a bunch of action-Rs. I love this term. We have a lot of webinars, but there were action-Rs where people took action, like making calls to congressional offices. 360 congressional offices were called with our allies. And in August of 2021, the International Monetary Fund released $650 billion of emergency financial resources called special drawing rights to 190 countries. That's 3 times as large as the next largest issuance of these resources in history. And all of you who have been part of Action Corps, who donated, who written letters to the editor, who met with members of Congress, you played a pivotal role in that happening. The managing director of the IMF said that this would never have happened without civil society support. And Action Corps has led that charge in the United States. Just the other day, 140 organizations signed a letter to the IMF saying that we need more, and we helped recruit those organizations. Action Corps got a shout out in the Reuters article about this that came out last week. All right, next slide. And you might be wondering, okay, what supports this good work? Well, last year we had 1,500 volunteer hours were put in from Action Corps volunteers. We have 175,000 people on our email list who reach out to their members of Congress when we ask them to, who are able to support from afar. We received $26,000 in non-foundation support in our last fiscal year. That means like donors like you, like other organizations. And we had a total of $134,000 in revenue last year. We would love to see that amount of non-foundation support increase so that we have the sort of independence and the real responsiveness to our members and the folks that we are working with on the ground. The next slide. These are just a few pictures from our work from this past year. All right, that's great. Thank you. And we're now going to move into a performance, I believe, just to have a little break here. Nida, you want to take it from here?
Yeah. You guys are not going to believe who is performing today. It is our member performer. It's our activist performer that we have on call, Hassan Al-Tayyib. And he is basically, he's one of the greatest allies we have in this Yemen work. He's done amazing lobbying with Congress, and he's also a musician as a career. So glad to have you, Hassan Al-Tayyib. And a lot of people know him by Hassan. I had a conversation with Isaac beforehand about how I would not be calling him Hassan because that means horse in Arabic, if you pronounce it correctly. And so I'm just calling him by the Arabic pronunciation that I know. So Hassan, take it away.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for filling me in on that. Yeah, impressive work, Action Corps. Really appreciate all the work to end wars around the world, all the work on Yemen, all the great organizing, the great community building, and glad to be a part of this event. I'm going to do a little medley. I'm going to do a song that you might know called Blackbird, and then one you might not know called I Want to Be Ready. Well, blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these sunken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of a dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of a dark black night. Thanks, y'all.
That was so good.
Okay, we got one more tune for you. Y'all are the best. It's a very short one because I know we got to get back into some more programming. This one is called I Want to Be Ready When the Joy Comes Back to Me. And I think this is a really hard moment for so many people. The war in Ukraine, the war in Yemen, the flooding in Pakistan, what just happened in Florida, crazy election cycle that we're living through right now. And there's a lot of reasons to feel despair. And I think I'm not going to be Pollyanna with you. It's rough out there. But I think we got to get ourselves ready for letting joy into our hearts. This is so important. And I'd love for you to all to sing this one with me. It's called I Want to Be Ready When the Joy Comes Back to Me. I forgot my other guitar at a party last night, so I got to go back and get it. I got my spare right here. It's a little out of tune. So it's like, yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. Now you guys try it at home with the mute button on. Yes, I wanna be. Yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. Yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. I was surrounded by the midnight. Surrounded by the midnight. Surrounded by the midnight. But I'm getting lighter every day. And yes, I wanna be ready. Wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. Yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. And I was tied to the ground. It's tied to the ground. I was tied to the ground, but I'm getting lighter every day. And yes, I wanna be ready. Yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. Yes, I've been downhearted. I've been downhearted. I've been downhearted, but I won't be down too long. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. Yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when the joy comes back to me. Thanks, y'all.
Woo! Yes.
It's so good.
Thank you, Hassan.
That was so good.
All right. So we now move into the part of the program where we're going to be honoring some of our friends and allies who are so excited for your work, because one of the things we've realized as a small staff, a small organization, is the way that we have power is working together with other people. And the first person that I personally want to honor today is somebody that I met many years ago who helped organize the People's Climate Movement in the People's Climate March in New York. It was the largest climate march in history with about 400,000 people who participated. And Jennifer Vivek Horsford was a key organizer of that march as an Action Corps organizer. We got the chance to go to the West Indies Day Parade. This is something she took me along to, and to recruit people to march in the People's Climate March. And so I love that we were in a parade recruiting people for a march. And that was the sort of energy that Jennifer has brought to Action Corps. She has served as a senior government official in Grenada, where she is from. She connected us with Yolande Cador, the chair of our board. When she wasn't able to be in a leadership role in Action Corps, she connected us with somebody who could be. And so I'm so grateful for Jennifer's leadership. One of the things that I love about Jennifer is, Jennifer, the way that you lead with community and bringing people together. And you do that with food, with encouragement, and with spirit. You know, I'm sorry to miss this summer the Action Corps retreat in New York City, but I knew that you had been there because I heard that people had sorrel, that wonderful beverage that you've often brought. And we've had big events like with the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee a couple of years ago before the pandemic. And Jennifer, your family members provided the food for that event. So I so appreciate the ways that you have found to show up, to bring people together, to bring your energy. We are grateful for you. And you know, about 6 years ago, there was a meeting when Action Corps program was being discontinued by Oxfam. And you said, we're not going to stop because we're allergic to death. So thank you for having that belief in our ability to organize and in each of the people that part of our organization. Jennifer, if there's anything you want to say, you have the floor. We're so glad to have you with us today and to honor you.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm listening and I can't believe that Isaac is talking about me. What he said is true, but I'm truly humbled and honored for this opportunity. I must say I want to thank you all for recognizing me for the work we do, but it's about all of us. Today I was having a hard day because I wasn't feeling very well. And usually I have to travel like 2 hours to get to our events with the sorrel and the food. But today it took me a few minutes just to get to the computer. So while I do appreciate traveling with the sorrel and the vegan food, today was a great opportunity for me to ensure that I did not miss this. I want to thank the Action Corps for their confidence in me and for helping me to really live out my why. I always wanted to help change the world, but I wasn't sure how to do this. But when I joined Action Corps, I feel it really became very fulfilling for me. Coming from Grenada, I would share with you, like most of you, I believe when I was 14 years old, I started doing community organizing. And I have a joke because I tell people, I believe when my friends were in the dance party, and they were playing, we were already at the table trying to end poverty. And to be part of Action Corps and to be able to really make a difference, it is one of the most fulfilling things ever. So I thank my family for being online. My sister from Grenada, Miss Singh. I have Brenda Cox. So many people, they just see the excitement in me and they want to be here. I hope that one of the benefits of being honored today is that I could continue to share the work of Action Corps so that more people could support. Because the theme for World Food Day, it says, leave no one behind. And during the climate march, we also said, to change everything, we need everyone. And to be able to end hunger and to end the crisis in the world, we need all hands on deck. We need all hearts. We need to continue to fight together. So I'm really, really proud of Action Corps and all that you're doing. I belong to so many groups. As I said, I started since I was like 14 years and 9 months with some of the international organizations. But there is just a pride of being part of Action Corps. Some of you trained me, I trained some of you, and we pride ourselves in turning out new leaders. So Action Corps is here to change the world, and I am proud to be part of the change. Now that I work in the Senate, I'm no longer able to do the advocacy, but for some reason, Isaac and the Action Corps always find a way with Brian and everyone else to keep me involved. Direct action in Germany on climate, and so the work continues. So I ask all of you to give generously to the Action Corps, and I ask you also to continue to get others involved. Auntie Denise is my day one on this trip, and I see her online, and I believe she gave us an opportunity to do the hunger banquet at her church. And that was a powerful day because her minister said, I know what I'm preaching about Sunday. He got himself in a bracket where he sat like in the poor strata of the hunger banquet, and he had only rice without a spoon. And so he knew what it felt to be in poverty. And that was so moving. So I would end here, but I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Isaac for always believing in me and helping me to step up and bloom, because the world does not need people who are frightful. The world needs bold, brave people to do the work. So I want to thank each one of you for this opportunity. Happy World Food Day.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for your words. The next person that we want to recognize today is Sister Diane Corey from Oklahoma. We are so glad to have you here with us, Sister Diane. Sister Diane and Action Corps connected a couple of years ago when we were working to get the support from the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee from Oklahoma on a bill to authorize the release at the International Monetary Fund of emergency financial resources, these special drawing rights. And Sister Diane showed up with gung-ho energy, ready to step in and help out. She wrote letters to the editor of multiple newspapers. She got her, you can see there are other sisters on here, Sister Marie and others who joined in writing letters. She wrote to her US senators. She got meetings with their staff members. She was working with people across the political spectrum, working with ministers. I mean, she has just been an anchor for us in Oklahoma. And, you know, I say that, like, I could reach out to the senator and it doesn't mean anything coming from Vermont, but being in Oklahoma, I see Sister Catherine, you were involved in this work. Being in Oklahoma, she was able to use the power that she had by being there and her voice as a nun, as a person of faith, to lead. And I'm just so delighted to have you here, Sister Diane, and to honor your leadership and your part of our work. And Sister Diane, you have the floor if you'd like to say a couple words.
Well, I too, thank you. I echo what Jennifer said. Are you talking about me? It's like, who is this person? And really, this is an honor, but it's also very humbling. And I really echo a lot of what Jennifer said in my experience. Y'all, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, whatever, I could no more have said anything about an SDR to save anyone's life. And now when I think of what I've learned because of all of you and so many of you and being with you, and it's like what Isaac was talking about earlier and others of you has said, it's really the being together in all of this and just hanging in over the long haul. I've been thinking a lot about leading up to this meeting about the prophet Habakkuk and praying that prayer. How long, oh Lord, how long? I mean, I'm saying that a lot. And, you know, the answer was write the vision down and wait for it. And it's like, okay. But it really has come home to me that the waiting means we all have to be doing while we're waiting. It's a really active waiting. And so we keep on, we persist. And, you know, I've shared with you one of my favorite images. I'm just a little drop in the bucket. Some of you, as you have said, I mean, you've been at this for years, but, you know, we can fill a bucket with water drop by drop, or we can pour cupfuls in. And so I'm just going to keep doing my little drop. And I hope if that's all you can do, then enough of us at our drops, we really are going to fill this bucket of SDRs and make a difference for people. And even just listening to what you said today, Isaac, I mean, it brings home to me the abundance in which I and we live in this country. So how can I not do this? I mean, that gives me a platform and a foundation to be of service for others. So it just, you all keep me going. And so thank you. And know that really in honoring some of us, it's really honoring all of us because no one of us is doing this alone. So thank you. And let's just keep on keeping on.
Thank you, Sister Diane. So appreciative of your words and your leadership. And Jean, do you want to just say a word or two?
Well, I can add. First, I will thank you, Isaac, for your inspiring and stellar leadership, and to everyone at Action Corps. I mean, the work is strategic, effective, and important. And Sister Mary Diane, we congratulate you from the Sisters of Mercy of the Americas Justice Team, the sisters on this Zoom, and the sisters all over. Just thank you for being our representative to the coalition working on it. In addition to her work on this issue, this is one busy person who works on many justice issues, is on anti-racism work. Last year, she was honored for her work in forming lay leadership. So you opened your heart even more when you heard about all that was going on with the global pandemic and the impact. And with such humility and grace, we thank you and we're proud of you. Blessings.
Thank you, Jean. Now I'll pass the mic to Julia Meltzer from New York. Julia is Action Corps New York co-lead organizer, a volunteer role. She's also Action Corps' climate co-lead. She's just landed a position with the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators. We're so glad to have you say a few words.
Thanks, Isaac. So today I'm so excited to honor Emily Rubino, who is the Executive Director of Peace Action New York State. And her work in peace and human rights has been so important as we've worked together. And I really want to highlight it today since it is World Food Day. And as we've learned, conflict really exacerbates food crises globally. So working for peace is really fundamental. And I just want to say thank you so much for your commitment to working with Congress to end the U.S.'s involvement in the war in Yemen and for supporting the Yemeni people. And also thank you so much for supporting economic justice with initiatives like special drawing rights with the International Monetary Fund. And personally, working with Emily has just been an inspiration. I'm a little newer to this work, and it's just been great to watch Emily and see what a great leader she is. So congratulations, Emily.
And we have a short video from Kate Alexander, who Emily used to work with. I think we'll pull that up for a moment here and then pass the mic to you, Emily.
Hi, I'm Kate Alexander. I am a board member of Peace Action Fund of New York State, and I am the Policy and Campaigns Officer at Madre, a global feminist fund and women's rights organization. And I want to say a huge congratulations to everyone who's being honored tonight, but especially to Emily Rubino, the Executive Director of Peace Action Fund of New York State. I'm amazed by all of the work that you are doing, absolutely floored by the fact that you're joining from abroad while you're also being recognized by the International Peace Bureau, and so proud of all the work you've done to build peace in Yemen, to hold the U.S. responsible for its historic role in the crisis, and to challenge U.S. militarism more broadly while building a diverse, anti-racist, anti-war organization throughout New York. Congratulations.
All right. And Emily, love to hear from you.
Yeah, I don't know what to say after that. I'm just really touched that you would think to honor me. You know, I have been working with Action Corps and working alongside Action Corps on trying to stop U.S. involvement in Yemen for as long as I've been with Peace Action New York State, I think. I can't remember if I started when I was interning at Peace Action New York State or when I first started working, but either way, it's been 5 or 6 years. I can't believe you said Ellie was 14 when she joined. I remember when Ellie came to a Peace Action Manhattan meeting and was just getting involved. And it's been, I think, a long couple of years doing this work. There's been a lot of heartbreak and a lot of challenges, but I also think the community we've been able to build, the coalitions we've been able to build have been amazing. They're run by just the most incredible, badass Yemeni women. And I am just so humbled to get to work alongside such incredible people. And we've seen it make such a difference. I remember when Elliot Engel was House Foreign Affairs Committee chair. And we went from, rallying outside of his office and having meetings with him and him saying that, why bother? We're not going to be able to stop this, to turning around and being the one to introduce the Yemen War Powers Resolution. So it's just been such incredibly powerful work. It's still an uphill battle. We're not there yet. I think it weighs heavily on me and all of us that do work on Yemen. The fact that we haven't stopped U.S. involvement yet, but I think that our work really has made a difference and an impact. And we've seen that and we'll continue to see that. And yeah, it's been such an honor to work with and get to know Isaac and Julia and Sammy and Neda, and Hassan is here. Kate is the one that pulled me into this work. So it's just been amazing. And seeing that video that you shared before and seeing Sally Jones and David are both here. And they're in so many of the photos because they're always showing up and helping mobilize. And yeah, I'm just honored and grateful to be in community with all of you. And I'm always at service to do whatever I can and love that we can work together. And Action Corps New York City is an affiliated ally of Peace Action New York State, which has also just been really wonderful and strengthening our relationship regionally. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. We'll now pass the mic back to Neda, who is our Action Corps coordinator.
Yeah. As for honoring people today, I remember Isaac asked me, who would you like to honor? And right away, I knew I wanted to honor Jo May. And the reason is Jo May is one of the most powerful, strong, passionate activists that I have met in my life. When last year, Jo May invited me to this march, this International Human Rights Day march. And I had thought, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I'll speak. She's inviting me. I wasn't that big. I didn't have any experience speaking in front of crowds. I show up and it's this mass mobilization of people across so many different causes. And Jo May is just speaking to everyone. She's got the Arab diaspora. She's got women's rights groups. She's got the Haitian rights groups, the Black rights groups. It was amazing. It was so beautiful. And then I said I had to get to know Jo May. And then I went to a couple of the protests the rallies that they hold at Malaya SF. And this is the cause for Filipino democracy. And the people there were just like family. And it changed my perspective entirely on activism, and that it's more than just pushing for this cause. It's about togetherness. It's about coming together as a family. It's about dancing with the people you love, singing with the people you love. It's about amplifying voices that maybe were not amplified before, like being invited to these protests as a Yemeni American. And the cause is not for Yemen, but it's about international human rights for all. And that is just one of the most beautiful things that I experienced in my activism. And when I was organizing protests for Yemen, Jo May was by my side. I said, I have to get this done. She said, I got you. And she did it. And I didn't have to look anywhere else. And that's just, I really, really appreciate you, Jo May. And so honored to have you. If you want to say a couple of words, you have the floor.
Yeah, I had like bullet points I was going to run through, and you started speaking, and now I'm like, I'm all flustered. Thank you for so many kind words. I really enjoyed getting to work with you, Neda, but Action Corps as a whole. And it's only been less than a year because we planned that mobilization last December for International Human Rights Day on December 10th. But in that short time, I feel like I've learned so much, and especially been able to strengthen the tie between the Philippines and Yemen. And as Neda had mentioned, my name is Jo May. I'm the point person for Malaya Movement in San Francisco. It's a part of Malaya Movement USA, and we stand for human rights, democracy, and sovereignty for the Philippines. And so what the current situation is in the Philippines is we have the return and even extension of dictatorship, as Bongbong Marcos, who is the current president, is the son of then dictator Ferdinand Marcos, who declared martial law in the Philippines in the 80s. 70s and the 80s, it lasted about 14 years. But I bring this up because the current context of the Philippines is emblematic of this growing human rights crisis that we see all over, and the U.S. being a pillar for worsening those conditions, whether it be in the Philippines, in Yemen, even conditions here domestically have worsened, because instead of our tax dollars going to help the citizens here, whether it be through healthcare, education, housing, instead it's funding arms. Instead, it's taking resources overseas. Instead, it's going to dictators, to tyranny in our homelands. And so now more than ever, and I think this continues like throughout history, right? That solidarity continues to be a really important piece of our activism, of our organizing work. And it's something that we must continue to intentionally do with care, with thought. And again, as Nada said, like not as simply as a campaign, but really how are we actually community building? How are we building one another to embody the future that we're trying to work towards? And so I'm so, again, I'm still like a little flustered, but I'm so thrilled that you reached out and wanted to honor the work, because solidarity, I don't see it as a task or something on a checklist, but something that is necessary and imperative to integrate into this work. And so thank you for having me here. And I look forward to continue being in solidarity with you all.
Thank you so much, Jo May. So glad to have you join us today and share about your work. Next up is Sammy Esquivel, who is Action Corps New York's lead organizer and our national climate lead. Sammy, we're so glad to have you say a few words about a couple of elected officials that whose work we wanted to acknowledge.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So we're here to acknowledge some elected officials who unfortunately could not be here with us today. But first off, we would love to honor Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley. So we have long admired Mia Mottley's commitment and advocacy when it comes to the additional release of special drawing rights. And so she went to COP26, and she advocated for the allocation of $50 billion for special drawing rights from the IMF. And she has a track record of many years of compassionate advocacy for the world's most vulnerable people. And we thank you. We thank Mia Mottley for championing global economic justice. Thank you for your advocacy. And we have a short video, I believe.
We do. Did you want to say anything about Jamal, Representative Jamal Bowman first?
So yeah, Representative Jamal Bowman has been just an incredible partner to work with. He goes and he advocates to Congress to cease U.S. involvement in the crisis in Yemen and to support the Yemeni people. Last September, Representative Bowman actually stood up to speak at a protest, which was led by our Action Corps' former chairman, Sumaya. And he urged the Saudi-led coalition to open the airport at Yemen's capital. And Action Corps also appreciates that Representative Bowman continued his support for other efforts to assert congressional war powers as well. And, it doesn't just stop there. He also further advocates for the support of global economic justice initiatives, such as our special drawing rights by the International Monetary Fund. So we thank Representative Jamal Bowman.
Thank you so much, Sammy. We also want to recognize the work of Senator Patrick Leahy, the senior senator from my home state here in Vermont, who served for 48 years, and particularly acknowledge the leadership for the release of these emergency financial resources, special drawing rights, and his work to stop U.S. participation in the war in Yemen. It was because, in large part, of this being an important issue for Vermonters, and folks like Ellen Schwartz on this call from Vermont, MD Baker, who's also here with us, their work making this a priority, and we really appreciate the senator's responsiveness. He sent us a letter, which I will, because we're short on time, I'm not going to read it to everybody right now, but I'm putting it in the, I will put it in the chat in a moment. I can also just share briefly my screen here. And this is the letter that he wrote us: Dear Action Corps board members, staff, organizers, and supporters. And while he's unable to join this community celebration, I want to thank you for your inspiring work over the past year. He talks about how events like this can feel small in the face of the overwhelming challenges faced by the people in Yemen and many other parts of the world, but they show that people working with a common purpose can make a difference. And it says, thank you for your advocacy and solidarity with the world's most vulnerable people. You should be proud of what you've accomplished. And I appreciate the handwritten note here at the bottom. Thank you, Senator Leahy. Finally, I'll pass it over to Ellie Barron to finish off our honoring.
Yeah, so today we also wanted to honor Somaya El Romaim. She's the first chair of Action Corps' board. Her term just expired a few months ago, but she previously served for the last 3 years as chair of our board. She's one of the most powerful people I know, probably one of the most powerful people on the planet. Just an incredible presence. At a protest, everyone will go silent once Somaya says one word. She's just an incredible person to be around and an incredible organizer and activist. And so we have a little video from the board and from some Action Corps organizers to thank you, Somaya. But just feel so lucky to be able to work with you and have you as a mentor. So I'm just going to share this video. Can everyone see that?
Happy birthday to.
Hey, Ellie, there are a few blocks at the top, the bottom of the screen and the top of the screen. If you're able to remove those.
I unfortunately cannot figure out how to do that.
Okay, that's
sorry,
fine.
everybody.
We'll be able to see most of it. That's
okay.
better.
Thank you so much for your years as our first elected board chair of Action Corps. Your tireless energy, your strength, your fearlessness.
Our first year, we were part of the first little wave, and you sat in that meeting with Senator Risch, and you told your story about Yemen, and to sit there beside you and to see him not listen gave a little spark to exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life.
You're an inspiration to Yemeniyat everywhere. I've never been in an organization that is chaired by a Yemeni woman, and I'm so proud and honored to have met you.
I know about all of the amazing work and leadership you've provided to Action Corps, and I know Action Corps will never be the same without you.
It's going to be sad to see you go, but I'm looking forward to staying connected and hearing about all the great things that you've got in store for you.
Thank you again so much for your incredible work, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much for being who you are in this planet.
And through your storytelling, you're really able to keep us aware of how Yemenis are being impacted on the ground, so we didn't lose sight of why this advocacy work is so important.
I feel so lucky that I've been able to learn so much from you, and also have had a lot of fun with you and really appreciate your sense of humor.
You have been an important part of the heart and soul of Action Corps from the beginning. I remember those words that you said when we spoke on that panel in New Jersey when they asked, is there light at the end of the tunnel? I want you to remember what you said for those days when you feel discouraged, when you feel like there's no hope. What you said was that there is light at the end of the tunnel if we let it through.
All of us on the board want to say Thank you.
Thank you, Samaya.
Thank you,
Samaya.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Ellie. And Somaya, would you like to say a word or two?
Thank you so much. You makes me like I want to cry. In the beginning, I want to say it's really my honor to receive your recognition, and whatever I do for, like, you know, the Action Corps and the work that they do for people is not enough. And I left because I have so much things in my plate, but I'm still here for you anytime. If you need any kind of support, I'm here to support Action Corps. And I really want everyone who's watching us and who can donate for the amazing work that Action Corps do, please do. Because this is the first time when I met Isaac and I heard about the work that he's doing for Yemen. I was like really surprised to hear that. Is there people actually cares about people who's living in different side of the world? And like, you know, nobody knows about them, about what's happening there. But like, you know, I was so happy when I heard about the work and the organizing work that he do to make sure to end the war in other countries. And that's what it makes me inspired to want to join and do work as much as I can to support the cause that Action Corps they fight for. And really, I really learned so much things also from Isaac and other folks in the team. And it was my pleasure to serve in this in the board with every one of you. And I learned so much things. Thank you so much for giving me this experience, and also for getting all the support that I got from you all, and especially Isaac, who's the spirit of Action Corps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Somaya.
Thank you so much, Somaya. Awesome. Okay. So we are about 5 minutes until the intended close of our event. We do have one more performance. I do ask that you stay until the end because we want to take a group picture with everyone here and capture our energy and take a look in the future and remember this day and what we celebrated. And so I'm going to introduce Brian Rawson, board member, longtime ally, friend. He's going to play a short song for us, and then we are going to take a photo together and say goodbye. Take it away, Brian.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Can I just say, is anyone feeling better now than you did when you joined? I had a very busy morning. I've got so many things going on. My stress level was up here. My overwhelm was up here. And I spent all week on Zoom at work. And yet this hour and a half with you on Zoom, like looking at your faces and meeting you, like my overwhelm and stress has gone so much down, and my sense of love and hope and community has gone up to here. And I hope it is the same for you. I am absolutely delighted to be a part of Action Corps. I will keep it brief. I'm going to sing a song that means a lot to me, and many of you, if you know me, you've heard it before. I learned this when I was in El Salvador some 30 years ago, and I want to share it because it's the heart of the sense of hope and struggle and action that I've carried with me and through this work since. Clearly, I'm not Salvadoran. I'm a white kid from, I use kid loosely, white kid from California. But being in El Salvador on a solidarity trip ignited a lifetime of commitment to solidarity work. I learned so much of what it means from Salvadorans. If there are folks in the room who are from El Salvador, who are from Central America, from Latin America, I honor you. I thank you for sharing a little bit of spirit and song with me so many years ago that I now want to share with you. It's actually from Venezuela, but it was very big in the popular movement when I was down there. It's called No Basta Rezar, which means it's not enough to pray. Prayer, of course, is a big part of what keeps us going, but it's also we need to take action. So those two things together, I like to think of it. This is called No Basta Rezar. Hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. There's so many things we need to do to achieve peace. If you do wish to sing along during the chorus, you can unmute and sing no. Most of the chorus is just the word no, so that's easy enough to sing whether you speak Spanish or not. I'll keep it brief. I'm going to just share two verses. One is about how even if they pray from their hearts and in good faith, as they climb into the bomber planes, the pilots, to drop the bombs on Vietnam and El Salvador. So clearly there's more that we need to do than just have folks pray. And secondly, the next verse will say, if the people rise up, when the people rise up and everything changes, you will then say with me that it wasn't enough to pray. And again, that action with prayer is what we're after. Okay, so here we go. That's enough talk. No basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. Y rezan de buena fe, rezan de corazón, pero también reza el piloto cuando monta en el avión. Para ir a bombardear a los niños de Vietnam, para ir a bombardear a los niños de El Salvador. No basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No, no, no basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. Cuando el pueblo levante, when the people rise up and everything changes. Cuando el pueblo se levante, que todo haga cambiar. Ustedes dirán conmigo que no bastaba con rezar. Ustedes dirán conmigo que no bastaba con rezar. No, no, no basta rezar. Hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No, no, no basta rezar. Hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. Hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz.
Thank you, Brian. Let's unmute ourselves.
Amazing.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Brian, for the music. I want to thank everybody who's participated today. And to close, we ask you if you're willing to unmute yourself. You can all speak up, and we're going to go into gallery view and do a screenshot. If you're able to show your face and bring your video up, we'll be able to get a screenshot that we can share out after this event to remind us all and to celebrate and to keep the celebration alive in our hearts and in our minds. So we'll count to 3 and then do the screenshot. If you are up for it, you can unmute your video now and do 1, 2, and 3. All right. Great. Got a good shot. Thank you, everyone.
Can we do like all thumbs up, like in coordination? Okay, let's do all thumbs up. One more.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. All right, bravo.